Well, welcome. Great to have you all here. We're looking forward to having a fun and exciting conversation here. And we're going to all connect. We're going to learn some things and hopefully maybe solve some issues related to the transition of the creator economy to CTV. CTV and the creator economy, they are no longer in separate universes. They are colliding, they are collaborating, they are doing things together. What started, I guess, with 30, you would know a lot about this, Jill, at Trusted Media Brands. What started out with cat videos and 30-second shorts is now turning more into what people consider television programming on the big screen. So everybody here is participating in that transition, and we're going to learn a lot about what they're doing today. Joe, he's building creator channels into full-length CTV franchises. Jill is turning UGC and creators into fast juggernauts like Fail Army and Pet Collective. Jordan is reinventing local news, and he's doing some really exciting and interesting things, and he'll talk about that. But he's moving local news from the big screen to mobile, to a TikTok-like experience. Adam Rumanek of Ox Mode, I got the pronunciation correct there. He is powering monetization and rights management for creators as well as others in the ecosystem. And Erick Opeka, my colleague, for full disclosure, I am on the board of Cineverse. Erick Opeka is enabling the creator ecosystem and now building a platform for microdramas. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a question for all of you. If CTV and the creator economy are merging, if you will, who's driving whom? Is it the creators shaping the networks or the networks shaping the creators?
I think it's the audiences. Yeah. You know, YouTube has been dominating in the past few years, so it's just obvious that that's what folks want to watch, and I think that really drives the demand from the platforms as well as the interest from the creators.
100% agree. It's all audience. You have to, yeah, that's where the chase is. Go where the people are and create the content, and they'll follow.
In the local world, we're thinking about it as kind of a flywheel, definitely prompted by audience and engagement. But we're looking into how can we take kind of a blowtorch to their linear or traditional paid TV and move folks over their digital properties. And we're doing that by having things on the local news like, give us your feedback on this civic issue via a video prompt on the app. And then those prompts on the app that get the most engagement from the audience, we're going to bring back around to the linear feed and kind of showcase those on a weekly basis. So I think it is audience driven, but I think they can influence each other.
I'll add in as well. I think, you know, as we kind of look at the consumption patterns and shift, we're really seeing, and I'm seeing data that says within 5 years, globally about 75% of all media time will be basically vertical short form video, and 50 to 55% in the US. So if you think about the sheer size of that, and the medium for which content is created there, which is predominantly from, you know, on the UGC side, professional creators, and as we start to see this new format, which is coming from the professional side, microdramas, we see a rich ecosystem of content that interplays with each other, where some will feed into each other and will become the main and default medium for which most people are going to engage with content and spread to the other ecosystems. So I think that if we look at it from that basis, we're looking at probably one of the biggest transformations in media that have happened in all of our lifetimes.
That's pretty epic. So, Jill?
Well, for us at Trusted, is this on?
Yeah.
For us at Trusted Media Brands, it's what we've been doing since we started our FAST and streaming platforms about 7 years ago. So that's good news for us. But yeah, we found that that's what people like. You know, UGC sometimes gets a bad rap because it's user-generated content. take our user-generated content and our socials and our sites, our Fail Army brand and the Pet Collective are creators. And what people want, what they've wanted in TV is that relatability and that aspirational. And if you can combine those two things, I think you have a winner. And so UGC or creator content really does that. It meets people with what they want to see and what they're interested in.
I'm going to start with specific questions for each of you in terms of what you're doing. Jill, I just want to extend the conversation here. What was the secret sauce? Because, I mean, you were part of Juke and Media. They basically were like the creator of UGC or popularizing UGC, and then you were acquired by Trusted Media Brands. What was the secret sauce of taking all of those great UGC brands and then translating that into actually very successful CTV properties?
It started, I don't know, about 7 years ago, and it was when Pluto and Zuma were starting, and we started with our short-form content, and they stitched it together and created shows, and we found that out was really sticky. People really liked it in a lean-back environment. You know, you fast forward to now, and we don't just take our social. We have a full TV team. Our head of production and development, the same team that produces for shows for like A&E. But we've continued to use that same, the good content and the fun that people really like, and now we make them into half-hour shows and bring them to our streaming. I think the other thing that's, when you say secret sauce, it's two things. One is we have the ability, we've got these great brands, we have the ability to move people across platforms. So whether it's social, digital, and now with Trusted Media Brands, we have print, we're really able to move our audiences. Trusted Media Brand as a whole, we reach about 63% of the U.S. On a daily basis. So we really are able to move our audiences around, which is part of the reason the streaming. And then the other reason, which I think is really key, is our communities. We're talking to our audiences daily. We can test things out on social and incubate. We really know what people want to watch. We have our newest channel, At Home with Family Handyman, which is based on the Family Handyman brand, is exactly what we did with. There's a lot more traditional. It's a mix of more traditional and our own original series. But the reason I think that it's worked so well and our audience has liked it is A, we're able to move our existing audience over, and B, we're giving them exactly what they're telling us that they want.
Joe, you're actually taking creators, okay, and you've been calling them creators, and you're turning them into CTV channels, or as my friend Alan will call some fast networks. Can you please tell us how that's been going and what's been the evolution?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm glad you called out that we call creators, because I think influencers is a general term from the social media space that often gets confused with a content creator. And so it all started with the why. You know, I'm an 80s baby, 90s, grew up in the 90s, and I remember when cable TV transformed what television was. You know, I'm talking about the MTVs and the BETs that weren't just aggregators. They were actually bringing something to the table in terms of voice, tone. It really resonated with me as a first-gen Filipino-American, but we really took, that factored into what we were doing, but we also factored in the space that FAST is. You know, it's prime real estate. It's in almost everybody's homes via smart TVs and apps. And really, we took the opportunity to build a destination, a place where creator content is celebrated, similar to how MTV did that with music. And so when we approached creator partners about this, it wasn't about the aggregation. It was about building a neighborhood that everybody could play in. You know, we've seen what content creators have done with social media, with YouTube, and you know, this is obvious, but the big reason why they got so successful is because there was nobody in their way. You know, they are their own studios. They do everything soup to nuts, and so what we're doing is creating that space for them. Our part in it is enabling it from like a technology perspective, from a creating a channel perspective, but we're inviting creators in to help evolve this. And what that results in is just really fun, original IP franchises, we like to call them, that's meant for that lean back experience, and more catered to a television audience that's used to seeing more of a series versus like standalone videos. So we're helping with that leap to TV, but we're keeping the creative juices and the creative control in the creator's hands.
And do you help them in terms of enhancing the show to make it look more like something you would see on television?
We try not to mess with it,
Okay.
to be honest with you. Like, these original formats, the unique ways that stories are being told is what resonates with audiences. Sometimes we help with formatting, like, hey, you've got a bunch of short form stuff. We can help you adapt that into a 30-minute episodic series. We do that. Or in some cases, we're developing original IP with them for longer form viewing. So yes, in a way, but again, we're trying not to, this is not a casting exercise.
Okay.
This is more of taking what they're already doing and just expanding their reach, but also expanding their storytelling ability.
Interesting. So now I'm going to move to a different topic. I'm going to talk about news. And you already previewed what you're doing in terms of helping deliver short form content on the news side. What was the impetus behind that, and how did you, because for full disclosure, you're doing a big project with Gray TV, which is one of the largest broadcast groups in the country.
Yep. Gray Media, you probably haven't heard of them, but I'm sure you've heard of their local affiliates. They own about 153 local affiliates throughout the country, and the impetus was really easy, like evolve or die, right? 70% of kids are getting their news algorithmically, which is very problematic if you look at news on TikTok and YouTube. And their business is primarily linear right now. And the age demographic of that linear business is an average age of 65, but that goes all the way into the 90s, like my grandma. And so while these Gray Media, I think, is doing $4 or $5 billion a year, a lion's share of that is linear. And so they've got to figure out how to transform their business. And we got very lucky in that we were working with someone who is very innovative and thinking about what are the trends. And of course, the most obvious one, as someone mentioned, is vertical video and user-generated content. And so how could we look at those trends and think about transforming the local news experience, and where is the gap? I think, and we're doing this across, we're talking to ESPN right now about user-generated content on ESPN. We're talking to Tubi, a lot of different areas. But I think the primary area of focus that's super important for CTV and news is what's your differentiator. And with local, it was super obvious. There's no local, community-driven, trustable content that's being served right now on mobile. You go to TikTok and YouTube, and maybe you get some local things in your algorithm based on what you're watching. But can we create a hyper-local, trusted, TikTok-like experience? The answer to that is, of course we can. But can you get people to go there? How do you drive kids that aren't on your linear feed over to digital? And so we're thinking about things like streaming high school sports with calls to action that drive them to the mobile experience to try to get kids back to local. We're thinking about replacing like the Facebook kind of experience, the Facebook forum, right, in your community of, PTA and whatever else goes on there. I don't know how to use it because I'm a millennial. But could you create a forum and allow for people to interact with people in their community in a video-style manner? We don't know what's going to work, but we're starting, we're going to start with a few markets and test and look at audience engagement. But it's mission critical for them. If these guys do not evolve in 5 years, things are going to be very dire. I think last year I read that paid TV lost $12 or $13 billion of ads revenue, right? It's a big problem for them.
Pay TV is now below 50%,
Yeah.
so which
Yeah.
people didn't think was going to happen as quickly as it did. Can I ask a question, though? Are local, or is Gray, are they also looking at integrating local creators?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely part of the conversation. And so one of the things in my world that we talk a lot about is, can we clip news segments, or can we clip long form TV shows into short form, right? And you're repurposing content. And we're doing that through AI, right? Clip it into, chapter it, serve it, verticalize it. The other area is shorts as a content class, and that's more along the lines of the microdramas that these guys are talking about. Can you make a content class of its own that only exists on mobile? So the answer to that is yes. And we've got think tanks right now where what would be interesting in a community? Would it be someone talking about restaurants or civic issues during an election? Obviously, Gray makes a lot of their money off election years. Could it be everything down to, a high school hero, right, who's creating content and inviting people in to kind of create content, chapter content, and again, see what sticks, right? Because it could be different from market to market.
Wow, I'm looking really forward to seeing this happen, and hoping it'll come to the greater New York City area at some point in time, although Gray doesn't own channels there or stations there. Erick, Jordan just said something very interesting in terms of talking about shorts as a content class. You're pioneering shorts as a content class right now at Cineverse. Can you talk a little bit about that, as well as how you see creators also coming of age within that content class?
Sure. Well, I think this is the natural evolution. I think you can't always look at China and say there's an exact parallel for what's going to happen here in the U.S. But certainly, lately, when it comes to vertical video and content, there's a lot of indicators that we're tracking that can really reveal what may happen here in the U.S. And if you kind of think about the last 5 years in China, it looked a lot like what's happening here in the U.S. You had microdramas evolving from soaps, targeting early adopters, and then huge amounts of investment into the space from major Chinese media companies and local producers, diversified the audience, diversified the types of shows, and shifted from what I'll call price gouging early adopter models, where you're charging $20 or $200 a year, to predominantly an ad-supported model. Fast forward to today in China, in August, 550 million people consume microdramas. That's 45-ish% of the population, and it's a 4-quadrant model. It's soaps, it's sci-fi, it's political thrillers, it's talk shows, it's game shows, it's everything. It's basically an entire media ecosystem that is now consuming and eating day part and mind share from traditional streamers and certainly traditional media. And our belief at Cineverse is this is going to happen here in North America, and we think microdramas, the cute little soaps, are going to end up consuming 15 to 20% of all media time, as vertical video becomes half of all media time. So, in my opinion, I think where creators come into play here, how do you define a creator? Is Don Lemon on TikTok a creator, or is he professional media? You look at how lines are blurring between traditional formats working incredibly well in this format. And so I think what's really missing for this ecosystem in North America that exists in China today is the platforms and discovery methods and technology that make it a preeminent format in North America, rather than cutesy soap operas, right? Which are still making a lot of money, but.
Can I ask, with the microdramas, are you planning to serve those in vertical, like infinite scroll? Is that the medium in which you're thinking about bringing those to the platform?
So what's interesting in North America today, we have not yet got to where China today, microdramas are basically baked into your social feeds. Mm-hmm. So they're intertwined between pure UGC and other things, and if you engage with them, you go into a different user experience designed for microdramas, different payment methodologies, different ad models. In North America, the Chinese who have promulgated the format in North America don't have access to, because they don't control the feeds like they do in China, So it's become an app-based model here in North America. Well, we've seen what happens with app-based models. Disaggregated apps, consumers hate them. Consumers don't want to download 60 different microdrama apps to access the shows. Now imagine when this format explodes, and now it's covering every format, every studio is involved. It'll be a mess. So we think there are going to be companies like us that make this a digestible mechanism for consumption in the way that Spotify solved the problem for music, or Netflix in its early days solved the problem for finding high-quality studio movies. So we think that's going to happen in
So
this
does
space.
that look like a TikTok feed?
It's a combination of both a TikTok feed, and I think in North America we've become accustomed to the tile and grid methodology, so I think they'll live hand in hand. But I think the algorithm in China is the feed-based discovery was what makes it so powerful and addictive as a format.
Jill and Joe, are you both doing short form, TikTok, biteable type content right now?
Yeah, so we divide up. I run our fast channels, and we have a social team that runs all of our social, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, et cetera. And so they'll produce specifically for, we try and produce it specifically for the platform. So that team works specifically for the socials and produces what works there. Sometimes we'll use similar concepts. We learn from each other. And like I said, we incubate and then bring those big ideas to our fast channels and the TV length programming. But yeah, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, similar answer. I think when we program for the widescreen, we're not testing a lot of vertical video right now just because it's really meant for that handheld experience. And then we use our socials to then publish derivatives of that main content. Our main focus is on the 16:9, but as we've seen before, like, you gotta test it to see what works, and we're looking forward to doing that on both mobile and TV.
Well, Adam, you have a first row seat to seeing what is really going on with creators as well as traditional content suppliers. How do you, what is the data that your platform provides telling you as to what's going on?
Yeah, we have quite a lot of insights
Yes.
because we run a very high volume of content on YouTube, Facebook, and
Can you
Prime.
maybe just explain Oxmode's business model for everybody? I think that would be
Sure.
helpful.
We run libraries of content on streaming platforms, helping with geo-blocking, monetization, content ID or content protection, one-stop shop for everything. Been doing this for 16 years, seen quite a number of iterations with these platforms. We're agnostic, so back in the day I was the biggest fan in the world of Vine and Musical.ly, and now it's called TikTok. But so we go where the audience is. I think that kind of resonates with all of us. It's for sure you have to be authentic. I kind of caught that from what you were saying. But what we find, what's going on with our customer base, initially we had a lot of content creators. Now we have a lot of TV, film, and music industry customers. We do a lot of content repurposing for short form. We cut it, if everybody knows CapCut or DaVinci, all the same software everybody seems to be using these days. We cut it, we dice it, we're agnostic, we post it. When it comes to different platforms, obviously audio-only platforms, we do the same thing. We extract audio and go to Spotify and so forth. But what we find is we're just a lot of times chasing the audience. What Jordan was saying with localization, I actually believe in the same thing. It's very hard to play the algorithm. There are a ton of tricks, a ton of games that we all use to stay ahead of it and feed the consumer. We primarily focus on revenue and watch time, which equals a higher CPM, which equals more revenue. A lot of times we get 1 billion views in a day, and it doesn't equal the revenue you think it does, because short form content is a lot different than long form. So we're constantly iterating. We find that wherever the future is directing us, we have to be on that same plane with our customers. We have old form content. We do director's cuts now, which is probably a 45-minute episode of some TV show, which feeds YouTube. YouTube is in Facebook and these platforms. You just have to keep on feeding it to generate revenue. We really focus on that part of our insights. We actually started doing a bit of content predictability, multi-platform predictability, which seems to be working for our customer base. It's new. It's no different than what if you log out of Netflix today and look at the top 6 shows, it's pretty obvious all platforms are doing the same kind of stuff. A lot of drama, increases watch time. Episodic is great over theatrical for watch time reasons again. It's no great secret they're reading the cash register. Amazon is a data company, which is trying to bring the same insights to our customer. And the only way we can do that is being agnostic and grabbing as much data as possible. We have our own, formula and algorithms, and just feeding it right back, and it's basically chasing the audience. We go where they are. I mean, I would love everybody to be at one
And
platform.
where are audiences right now? Where are you seeing the greatest audience aggregation?
I've never seen the growth of YouTube that I have in the last, year. We thought we were going good during the lockdown, and it was just a hockey stick. And then the election year, again, it was great revenue. But the growth of users has been incredible in the last year. The numbers are off the charts. And a lot of the other platforms, if you, compared one or the other, and some of the names people were talking about up here, and check the revenue, or from the advertisers, the writing's on the wall. It's global, it's huge. It's offered in 254 regions of the world on our devices. And there's some countries, we're talking about connected TVs. They don't have TVs, they have mobile devices.
Right.
So it's, you focus on the money, that's one thing. If you focus on the audience, it's, the top 3 platforms are so obvious. So we kind of put all our time into
And
that.
the top 3 are going to be YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, I guess, right?
Yeah. So who knows what, that algorithm's going to change on TikTok. They have to abide by the rules, and there's no way Oracle or whoever else owns this company can't pay the audio industry and TV in Hollywood. So once copyright is changed, the entire platform's going to change. It's the Wild West right now. I don't have to pay anybody if I upload a Taylor Swift song. But that's about to change, and that means the user experience is going to change. So what does that all equal? Nobody knows. We can't predict, but it's going to be better for the IP holder, that's for sure. And that's good for us too, because we want to pay we want our customers to get paid.
Okay, so we're in a transitional period, if you will, correct? Is that what you're
For short form, for TikTok, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But even for streaming content overall?
Yeah.
Do you feel that way?
Yeah, YouTube just launched YouTube TV, and they added the NFL ticket this summer, and they got 7.2 million activations in 48 hours. That's pretty big. So we were talking about live events before, and I know Erick was speaking about it. We're a huge proponent on live events. Mm-hmm. Something's going to happen where, they'll geo-block LA, but if you're in Connecticut, you can watch Taylor Swift, or you can watch whatever musician or circus act. They're going to do something. People are working on this. I'm a huge proponent of that whole ecosystem, live events. Something's going to happen, and it's going to change. And I think for the better, because, I'm from Toronto. I can't wait to watch the World Series against LA, but, I want to watch it. If I can't be there and it's geo-blocked for whatever broadcast reasons, I would, obviously get the feed, but if I couldn't, I should be able to pay for it.
Okay, well, you got to be nice to this LA audience.
I know.
Okay, so.
I'm predicting a sweep anyway, not in my favor.
Now, live is going to be really important for the broadcasters in terms of what they wind up doing with all of this. Is that part of your whole mandate with Gray?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's something we're working on with sport properties as well as live clipping. It's really interesting technology. Can AI clip live stuff as it's happening? And so the AI will start to predict that, hey, this guy's I'm not a sports person, I'm very gay, gonna score a touchdown, is that what they say? And it'll start chopping that up so they can syndicate it out and try and pull more people from TikTok and YouTube onto the platform in real time. Because a lot of these sports properties are saying, it's insane how many people sign up during games. And if we could just push out what's happening during the games to people, we can pull people back into our platform.
I've never seen a bigger flood of AI sport in live music videos since the summer. It's been flooded, all short-form platforms.
Yep.
I just saw an interview with Jimmy Fallon and Bob Marley.
And who?
And Bob Marley
Okay,
on
wow.
YouTube Shorts. And it's actually pretty good. It looks perfect. And this is just happening on all platforms. We're being inundated with it. And it's unstoppable right now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of issues for IP owners in that regard. So that's a whole other frontier, which is not for this panel to discuss. But I do want to take a forward-looking question. Fast forward 18 to 24 months. What will be the biggest shift in creator-led content on CTV? Would it be technology? Will it be format? Will it be business model? Is it a combination of all of the above? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
My perspective is it's not user generated if a studio's producing it, right? Like that's not what user generated content is. And I think that streamers have to figure out how to enable ephemeral, like truly user-generated content on their owned and operated platform. And I think there's unique opportunities for each one of them to do that with reality stars on Netflix, Love is Blind, Double Screen, ESPN with sports influencers and betting influencers. There has to be a medium in which a user-generated content person can come in and create something. And if a studio's producing it, it's not UGC. So my perspective is it's technical, and people have to start thinking about what does that really look like to enable people to quickly create sound bites of content.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Jordan, what you just said, because Creator TV, and this goes back to what you're saying about live, one of the most exciting things we're doing soon is a collab with the World Poker Tour. December 18th, we're going to do a live poker game called the Creator Poker Championship. And we're going to bring together our community of creators to play for charity. It's not about the game, it's more about just having fun together. But there's the live element of it, and it's studio produced because it's a World Poker Tour that we're collaborating with. So going back to the future, I think there's going to be a lot more of these collab opportunities between traditional players and new creators in this space. And then from a technology standpoint, there's a lot of fast channels. I mean, that's obvious, right? And so I think a lot of platforms are constricting how many channels they carry. I think we're going to see more of that personalization come to fruition, where if you're a user and you're into whatever kind of content, as you go into your fast ecosystem, some of these fast channels that you'll be into will sort of rise to the top, and I think that's going to really help with visibility and understanding, like from an audience perspective, like what's out there from a creator standpoint.
Jill?
I think it's a combo. For us, we're going to continue to make the great content that we've been making, and we have a lot of technology already, but everybody's continuing to dig into it. But one of the things that we're starting to do is we developed a creator program last spring, and we're starting to work on them on each of our brands, which gives us the opportunity to bring in up-and-coming creators and gives them an opportunity to come somewhere that has the experience that really can show them how to hone their craft, monetize, and get more views. So I think it's a little bit of everything.
Erick?
So I think there was a recent article in the Washington Post that studied consumer behavior in mobile, particularly in social video formats. And what it found was that the fastest growing impetus for people to spending more time watching, whether they were watching UGC, whether they were watching professionally format, was multi-episodic threaded content that connects multiple pieces of content together. So, whether it's the soaps in microdramas today, whether it's the TikTok trend of story time, whatever the case may be, what it's saying is the format of threaded episodic content in vertical video, number one, is going to explode and dominate no matter who's involved in it. Commercial investment, creators spending more time, hybrid super creators that are making professional content. That's going to become the fastest growth segment in the media industry, and will eventually become 15 to 20% of consumption time of all media.
Well, a lot to look forward to. I just want to ask one last question of the audience before we go. How many of you have watched a microdrama? Okay. How many of you are going to watch one over the next week because you haven't watched one yet? Okay. Well, thank you very much, and a big hand for all of our panelists here.